Good evening. On Monday, I was in the bus with Fonani Bila and Makosuzana Amakabanisa, and she said something to me that kind of devastated me. It actually made me aware that things are not good with me and that the poems I've written most of my life are all nonsense. So, I'm not joking. I'm not joking. So I had brought 32 pages of poems along to read to you very quickly in 20 minutes. Instead, I'm going to just read you the one which I have written as a result of what Makaba said to me. And I don't think she had any idea of what she was saying when she said it, in the sense that it would destroy me. That wasn't her intention. So. Now, when Kaganof met death, Kaganof was not at all surprised, for he looked death straight in the eyes and said, "I knew you would be a white man." Then death stared back at Kaganof with unconcealed disgust and raged. "Kaganof, you fool! Just because you suckled from the breasts of a black nanny slave doesn't mean that you're black. And the intimacy that you presume to share with that lactating black prisoner of war, did it never occur to you to imagine what she was feeling while your infant lips drained her lactating breasts of the nourishment now denied her own children, whom she only got to see once a month? Did it never occur to you that this intimacy you presume to share with your nanny slave was not merely not returned, not mutual, but that she might in fact have hated you and secretly hoped for her milk to poison you, and that the only reason it didn't poison you was that her African spiritual maternal instinct prevailed, and she turned the poison back on herself, internalized the poison in order to keep her oppressor's infant alive. Kaganof, you fool! You went into the black world confident and free of guilt because you imagined that the so-called intimacy made you different from other whites, made you somehow exceptional. In your privilege and your pride, you never once put yourself in your nanny slave's position and even tried to imagine the existential horror of her condition. That which for you was an experience of so-called shared intimacy. What was that experience like for her? You never thought about that. Then, for the first time in his life, Kaganof became afraid. He realized that death was correct. He had been deluded these 51 years. In fact, he was, by virtue of this crucial oversight, ultimately no different from the white system that had formed him and that all his life he had claimed to despise. He too was a racist. Shamefaced, Kaganof looked again into the piercing eyes of death. But now he finally recognized the truth glaring out of those bloodshot eyes. Then Kaganof slowly reached forward into the mirror and reconciliated himself to death, who was indeed a white man.
I went to my own funeral. They were playing that celestial music. The notes rang out as time dragged down. I slowly climbed the stars, and every one of those stars was sound, solidified like an organ made of stone. Then the coffin came into view. It was shining brighter than the sun, but not quite as bright as the moon. And I was unafraid, 'cause I'd been here so many times before, and I knew I'd be coming back again. Then a woman started dancing, and I felt her rhythm when it crawled up my feet and became my rhythm too. We were both born in Gauteng, and the earth roared under our feet. I could see the sky through somebody's eyes, but the eyes were not my own. Then we stretched our umbilical cords from the Hillbrow Tower to Devil's Peak, where she played her silver bow. And every one of those notes rang true. And my heart stopped beating, 'cause I didn't give a damn if I lived or died. All that mattered was her and her sound as they lowered me into the ground. So say c'est la vie to the broken-hearted. Say bon voyage to the newly dead. Always say I love you to the one you wake up next to. But oh, my sweet little darlings, don't you ever say forever. Forever is a very short time. We are in a permanent condition of lament. There is no Marikana, only media exists. Exemplary for this condition is that the car guards have used their wooden shelters for firewood. They too have departed from the empirical regime of knowing. Over the shoulder of the police, I focus my lens, and as the policeman pulls his trigger, I get my shot. Snap. Snuff shots. That's what the news has become. Live death TV. A visual shittery shooting the citizenry through the eyes of the state. You may not simply sit and consume anymore. Never mind the scattered bodies. How do we survive Marikana? How do the survivors survive? What democracy? Whose? Who does this nervous condition belong to? Are you still scared of the police? And is there any way of preventing ourselves from losing ourselves in the labyrinth? The danger of theory is that it does not protect you from bullets. Or, as my mother used to say, you cannot sleep with the devil and expect the sheep